Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Well, what is up? I'm Jared Welch, he's Aaron Halterman. This is Blinkers Off. Look at this. I'm back, guys.
Yeah, welcome back.
Jeez. I mean, I would like to say I've been on vacation, but I've not. I didn't die though either, so that's good. Barely survived, but yeah, I'm back. Blinkers Off. I saw carried on without me last week. You and Magic did what did you guys do? Pick 5, pick 6, something like that?
Yeah, we did the late pick 5 at Aqueduct last week and did well. And the only problem was we went 4 for 5 and our single got second, got way too far behind. But a couple people have reached out and said they hit it because our top couple of choices won every race, basically. Just the single didn't win. So it's a good show.
Well, hey, I guess it, new house, Shoddy. It's a new house, new life. Yeah. So it's been a freaking nightmare. I mean, like this, I've literally had no internet until like 5 minutes ago. Well, 20 minutes ago. So it's like, it's just been, I moved in, I guess we did the pod. The last time I was on the pod was 2 weeks ago. And then the next day I moved. And then ever since then, it's been like living in, what I would imagine is the closest to a third world country. And, I had no internet access whatsoever. Been dealing with AT&T, which anybody that knows AT&T understands. And finally back. And kind of feel, honestly, dude, I feel like it's been a great time. I can't imagine this happening, say, in the summer, So from that perspective, but I feel like I've missed everything. Like, has anything happened since the Breeders' Cup?
Not really, no.
Okay, so good.
You haven't missed anything, really.
I mean, literally, today I jumped back in. And I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to handicap again. So I'm back. A new office, hopefully same Blinkers Off. But yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I think you've come back at the right time as far as handicapping goes. It's kind of been a quiet couple of weeks, but this is always a great weekend. One of my favorites, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday races here. We'll talk about the Friday, Saturday. It's going to be good. We got good racing tomorrow for Thanksgiving as well. So this is, the 2 weeks after the Breeders' Cup are always, it's like, yeah, they're okay. But we're kind of back into it this week a little bit.
Yeah. By the way, if you're watching this live or even replaying this, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's again, I wouldn't suggest moving this time. I mean, there's really not a great time to move, I've come to realize, but this time of the year it's weird because it's just you've got the holidays and things going on, and then you're also unpacking, and it's like when I was unpacking, I'm like, well, I guess I might as well just take the Christmas tree out because I might as well do it. It's one less thing to do. But so yeah, it kind of feels like I don't know, it just feels weird for me that Thanksgiving is tomorrow because I just have been so glued into everything else. But yeah, it's shit. I mean, my boys are already counting down to Christmas, and Cohen's on Thanksgiving break, and so it's good to have the holidays here. And obviously, you said the race, it kind of kicks off the racing for the Derby. It feels like too, even though we had Derby races. You got the Jockey Club this weekend. That's when it really starts to feel like, okay, these 2-year-olds. What are we going to look at? We got we'll have Los Al, coming up, and then we of course move into their 3-year-old years. But and then not to mention you've got a 3-year-old that had a short, maybe let's see, how would you say this with First Mission, but a horse that maybe has not lived up to expectations yet because of the injury. So it's kind of cool to see him in this formerly Grade 1 race. Did they change that this year? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought they did because I was like, I thought it was Grade 1, but Grade 2. But still, like, this is a horse that obviously could have a huge year next year if he can stay healthy.
We're going to find out, right? I definitely think this is the turning of the page of a quote unquote new year for racing. I know, we're still a month and a half kind of away from our new year, but look, like I said, with this race and then Aqueduct next week, we'll have the Remsen, and then, you get into the Springboard Mile and Oaklawn kicks off as well. And you got 2-year-olds going, and then the real Gulfstream starts. So that's kind of the turning of the page. The Breeders' Cup's kind of the end of the book. You get the 2-week break, kind of. I mean, there's not a break really, but 2 weeks where there's not a whole lot going on. And then you kind of reignite, restart things. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, the Clark, we'll talk about it as a feature race. And we'll talk about just here in just a second. And I don't know what's going to happen in this one. I don't know what First Mission is. I think we're going to find out a little bit more on him Friday.
Well, I'm interested to know what your thoughts are, because I kind of, we'll get to it. On today's show, we're going to go through Friday's $600,000 Clark Stakes at Churchill Downs. It is a grade 2 now. You're hopefully, you guys can get some of your other family, get them out of the house, go shopping or something, and you stay home and bet horses on Friday, because Friday and Saturday racing is going to be awesome. Even tomorrow, good racing as well. So, and then obviously we'll go to Saturday and look at some of the major stakes races happening on Saturday, including Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks prep races, and some nice horses in those too as well. I feel like some years the Jockey Club is like, you don't feel like there's any, no matter what happens, but this one, there's a few in there that I think, have not lived up to the expectations so far, but maybe they will start to. And there's another horse in the race before the Goldenrod. We'll talk about him in a second as well, but no further comments. Let's go. I kind of feel off my game a little bit. Like it's been a minute, like I had a week off. Maybe I need Magic to host again. How did he do? Did you host or did he host?
Yeah, I hosted Magic, and then Magic was kind of the guest, and then Magic Mike's show Monday we flip flopped, and he hosted, and then I was kind of the guest. So yeah, it was good. Magic doing work, man. He's doing a good job as always.
Well, someone's got to carry the load around here. So if it's not you, it's got to be him.
That's right.
That's what we pay him for.
That's right.
Oh man. Have you well, I'll talk about it later. Talk about the Chiefs later. I got some comments. Need to release some steam. All right. Let's go to Churchill. Friday, Churchill Downs. Let's go to race 11 on the Black Friday card. Clark Stakes worth grade 2, worth $600K, going a mile and 1/8. For 3-year-olds and up, and field of 10 lines up for this one. 3-1 on the 2-horse First Mission. Needs no introduction there. Of course, had to be scratched out of the Preakness. Had a seemingly big time chance in that one with a lot of steam. Came back off of that layoff and won last time out in a very. It was almost like it was exciting, but also you couldn't tell if maybe had he lost a step or was it just a bad, he needed that race or whatever. What is First Mission? 3-1. But there's some horses, some challengers in here that I think could make things interesting if he doesn't fire. Il Miracle, Gasoline, Trademark, Film Star. I feel like I've bet every time he's ran, which I feel like he's ran a lot. And the Giant Game in here as well. But let's go to First Mission first. He's one of the only two of the only 3-year-olds in the race. Thoughts on First Mission? Like, do you believe in him here?
I thought his race last time out was pretty average at best, and that's probably being nice about it. I did not think his last race was very good. He beats Command Performance by a neck. We kind of know who he is a little bit. But look, was it the layoff? Was it the injury? Kind of took a little bit away from him. I'm not sure. His race in the Lexington before he got hurt back on April 15th was really good. He beat Arabian Lion, who went on to have a nice little run there. Obviously his maiden win before that at Fairgrounds on March 18th, very good. So, and even the race he lost to Bishop's Bay on debut was a really good race on February 18th. So he had 3 races that, in my opinion, were much, much better than the race he ran at Keeneland last time out. That has me not wanting to play him at 3-1. Do I think he has a shot to win? Yes. I'm just afraid he's going to take too much money. He's going to have to really run better than he did last time out, or he's he's not going to hit the board. Now, he probably should run a little bit better, but I think this is a kind of a sneaky, tough race. I don't think this is going to be easy for him.
I've kind of went back and forth with that logic that you're going with. I mean, it's almost like too that last race there was kind of visually impressive in a sense, like it looked like he wasn't going to fire, and he kind of had some traffic, and then he kind of comes flying late, and it's like gets up there, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was so exciting. And then you kind of go back and you kind of digest that, and you're like, yeah, I mean, he won, right? But like you said, you see command performance beat by getting beat by neck or losing by neck to it's like not great, not a great horse. But again, like he's won 3 in a row. He lost to Bishop's Bay that first race. He would have been top choice, second choice, obviously in the Preakness. I mean, the thing about him is like we haven't figured out what he is because he hasn't had enough time. Just like that, the Preakness would have been that solidifying one way or another, right? Where it's like he's a really good horse. We've heard it all along, right? This is the best horse Brad Cox has, but we don't really know because we haven't seen him enough to know that yet.
Yeah, and I think with command performance, that kind of data point you're talking about, at least command performance did come back to win his next race. I mean, that's good. Didn't beat the greatest field, and wasn't like just overly impressive, but he did come back to win. So maybe, okay, it is command performance. Maybe he's a little bit better than how we remembered him, back on the Derby Trail, believe it or not, and running at the Breeders' Cup. But at the same time, it just wasn't a race that's going to bode or going to give you a lot of confidence, I should say. Now, Saez is back again to ride for the 3rd straight time. He, I mean, this has always kind of been the plan. You look at the workouts, at least the times since that race, it looks like that race was kind of needed and it kind of woke him up. I mean, there are good things to take out of this or to talk about when it comes to this horse. It's just, how much is he going to get bet? I just think you look at this field, I think he's going to get bet down from that 3-1 morning line. And I just get a little bit skeptical of him if that's the case.
Yeah, because even though to like the naked eye or to, just anybody betting, like it's like, while I do agree that this is not going to be necessarily the easiest of races for him to win. As far as the competition goes, there's no names in the race, right? Other than him. And so he is going to get bet based off of just its first mission. We know this horse. So let me ask you, if you're not interested in playing him at say 8-5 or something like that, let's say he gets bet to that, who you like? I mean, I think there's a couple different options. That's the kind of the issue I had or am having. It's like, okay, if I do want to beat him, which I'm not going to fault anybody to try to beat him, who are you going with? Because it kind of feels like it's hard to kind of separate any of the other ones.
Yeah, I went with a pair of 5-1 shots as my top 2 choices. I went number 6, Film Star, on top here. You mentioned it's kind of a horse you've played a lot, and I have as well. Look, I think, the race 2 back got beat by Zandon, but Zandon ran really, really nice that day. Other than that, I thought Film Star was pretty good. I actually had him on top in that race. He was 13-1, gets second. Last time out was 5-2. Just didn't run quite as well. Got 4th, beating a length and 3/4 in a grade 2 race. However, that was at a mile. I don't really think Film Star wants to go a mile. I think a mile and an 1/8 is his best. And when you look at his past performances, mile and 1/8 has hit him square right between the eyes, right? I mean, every time he's been in a mile and 1/8 there recently, he's been pretty good. He's gotten first or second. So I think he's going to get out there. I think he'll stalk Giant Game and then try to take him, as turning for home, try to take him over and try to hold him off. So I like the 6, Film Star, in first. I like the number 4, Gasoline, in second. This is a horse that was coming up with Pletcher, and it kind of felt like, he's getting there, but he's just not quite good enough. He kind of fizzled a little bit. They gave him some time off. He's come back, and he's looked like a different horse, especially that last race. Go back and look at the last race, November 4th at Churchill Downs. And by all purposes, most people probably did not watch this race live. This was the day of the Breeders' Cup, right? One of the Breeders' Cup days. But go back and watch the replay of it now. that was a very impressive effort. His first race off the layoff at Churchill was good, but maybe not great. That race, the second off the layoff last time out, was super good. Really impressive. A 5 1/4 length victory in an allowance race, pretty much a prep for this one. And then, look who's coming in to ride. Flavian Pratt gets the mount now on Gasoline. So I think the 6 and the 4 are the two I'm most interested in, versus the 2.
Yeah, the 6 Film Star, I'm kind of gonna kick myself a little bit if I don't use him, just for the fact that I feel like I've used him all summer, because he's ran 100 times this summer, it feels like. But yeah, you're right. The mile and eighth, he's ran some really nice races at a mile and eighth, and won by 6 that time before the Woodward, and then again ran a nice race in the Woodward. Just like you said, kind of got ran down by Zandon, who ran a huge race that day. But yeah, Gasoline is the one for me that I'm most interested in, trying to use to beat First Mission. I just thought, you kind of said it, but that last 2 races, really, the one off the layoff was like, okay, like he needed that one, but he got the job done. Then that last race, I mean, and Giant Game to me is one as well, where I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to play him, but it's Dale Romans. It's 12-1. It's Churchill Downs. The horse has speed. Like, I'm not going to be completely shocked if Giant Game wins the race. And then this horse just kind of smoked Giant Game last time out. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's the horse, right? So I think Gasoline and getting Pratt, that's kind of the icing on the cake for me. But yeah, I like Gasoline. If I'm saying like, who do I think is going to win? Like, my top pick is probably going to be First Mission. But if I'm betting this race, I don't really have a lot of interest in betting First Mission at 8-5, especially facing Olders. That horse that's still unproven. I think Gasoline is going to be all of that. Every bit of 4-1, right? And to me, that's a lot better value.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Gasoline's last race is just kind of better than anything we've seen from First Mission. Now,
it's better than, from a numbers perspective. It is. I mean, it's better than what anything First Mission's done.
Yeah, I'm not huge on numbers, as we kind of know, but First Mission number wise, at least on time form, he's below most of the horses in here, and that's why I don't really like numbers, because I certainly don't believe he's like 8th out of 10 here, right? I think not at all, but that is a fact that he is on time form. He is below.
Let's just talk big picture here. So obviously your top pick is going to be Film Star. Mine's going to be Gasoline from a betting standpoint. I think, are you going to use First Mission no matter what? Just as a protection? Or are you actually going to try to beat him here?
Yeah, that'll be an answer for tomorrow morning when I put that together finally. It just depends on how deep I think I can go. If I can go, if my budget allows me to go 3 deep, he would be the 3rd horse on. If I have to go too deep in there, then I'll leave him off. That's where I'm at with it. I don't have any problem using him. I also don't have any problem if kind of the way I see how I have to structure this thing, I'm just going to try to beat him, So he's kind of that. He'll be a late add or a late takeoff, one way or the other.
I am excited to see him though, just from a pure figuring out what he is a little bit. Plus, he has had a ton of hype. I mean, his workout patterns right now coming into this race are spectacular. Brad Cox, obviously, you don't need a lot of introduction there, and Saez when those two team up. I mean, so there's a lot. I mean, you could definitely he ran off the screen he would live up to let's just say the hype, but I'm more interested in just seeing what he is, and I think this is a good test to see what he is.
I think if he runs off the screen, I would be fairly surprised. I think if he wins by a length or 2, I would not be surprised at all. I think that's, I see a horse that was really building into a big performance, and I'm just afraid that this injury may have derailed his progression, because I could be judging it a little harshly. He was coming off of a long layoff, and I will admit, he should improve. I thought his last race at Keeneland was really not good. And it just, with me, it's too much of an improvement too quick for him. But again, I've got him third in here. I wouldn't be shocked at all, obviously, and we'll just see, if the budget allows me to put on the ticket, he'll be on there, and if he wins, that's great.
Do you think he's are you, I guess I guess it's probably easier to ask this question after, but do you think he could still are you excited to see what he's going to possibly do as a 4-year-old? Do you still think he's a high caliber type horse, or is it more you're playing against him just because of we don't know what he is yet, and so it makes sense to try to beat him here?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think this race will kind of start to answer it. I thought after the Lexington he was going to be a really, really nice horse. And again, it's just his last race, just sometimes they get injured and they come back and they don't quite have that it factor, right? They're still good, but they kind of lose what makes them, at least what they look like. It's like, wow, he looks a little bit different than the rest of them at this level. He didn't look like that last time. So did he kind of lose that it factor? That's the question. And look, I think if he wins this race, you look at it on Friday and you go, okay, he's arrived. He's probably going to be one of the top 2 or 3 betting choices in the Pegasus if they go there. And here we go, So I think he's still, based on the 3 races before he got injured, I think he does have that potential. And I just think the Clark's going to answer the question of, has he kind of lost a little bit, or did he just desperately need that race and he's going to run a hell of a lot better? That's where you start with the handicapping of this race and you go from there.
I also think too that this is going to be interesting to see what, because last time he was definitely not in an ideal position. Kind of worked his way out of that and obviously won the race, but typically has been a horse that's been right there near the lead, and so with some pace in the race and drawing inside, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what Louis Saez decides to do with him.
To me, I think he's just going to kind of sit. If things go right, I think he's going to kind of just sit a pocket trip behind the 6 and the 7. I think 7 Giant Game goes out in front. I think the 6 and the 2 are kind of sitting there in second, waiting, right? And I think the best thing for him would be if the 6 went out with the 7. They got into a little bit of duel, and he could track those 2. So he should get a perfect trip. I mean, the way it unfolds, at least on paper, which that's never how it goes, right? Or sometimes it's not how it goes, at least. When you look at it on paper, it's like, yeah, he's going to get an inside stalking trip. He should be able to tip out because he's faster than a lot of the other horses, minus the 6 and the 7. I mean, it should set up well for him.
Well, we'll find out this Friday. Of course, the Clark Stakes. Halterman and I are both trying to beat him, mostly because we believe that he's going to be bet down quite a bit. Halterman's got the 6 Film Star on top. I'm going with the 4 Gasoline for Todd Pletcher on top. Yeah, that's going to be, I don't know. Like I've said, I'm just interested to watch him because he's an enigma right now. I feel like we've seen 1 stakes race from him, and it was a Lexington.
Yep.
And it was building, right? It was like the hype was building. Of course, we knew about him for a while as well, and so the hype was building. Lexington lived up to the hype, and then it was like Preakness, and then boom, it ended. And so you just don't know what he is.
And I have very little doubt he would have won the Preakness. So,
well, based off who won, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's very easy to say when they don't run in the race. Oh, he would have won. Like, yeah, whatever. But I feel like at that time, he was much better than the 2 horses that were on the wire there at the Preakness. So, but that's, I mean, he would, like you said, he was really felt like he was building to something really nice. And then, I don't know, the injury really was a bad timing for sure.
All right, let's do a couple of rapid fires here on Saturday. We're going to do Aqueduct. We're going to go the 2 Derby Oaks races at Churchill, and we'll go to Del Mar as well for the Sea Biscuit. So kind of go across the country here. Time for rapid fire presented by our Black Friday special. We did this last year, I think maybe I don't think it was the first year we did it, but the Black Friday special now through Sunday. This Sunday, receive 50. That's right, 50% off any subscription on the website, any premium subscription on the website for your first month. So you just just go to the website, go to the subscription. You can see the different subscription options, and you get your first month half off. That's right. Just enter the promo code GRAVY. That's right. Alterman, do you like gravy? Are you a gravy guy?
I do, yeah. White gravy. I don't like the brown gravy as
Interesting.
much.
No, you don't do brown gravy on Thanksgiving?
Well, on like Thanksgiving, yes, but like normally no.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would if you're giving me the option, obviously, like biscuits and gravy, white gravy,
Right.
gravy on like white gravy on chicken fried steak or whatever. Awesome. But
Yeah, maybe that's my thing. Like I just in my normal eating habits, the white gravy is usually what's there, not the brown gravy.
that's fair. You don't see a lot of brown gravy throughout the year, but
no, but I don't have anything against it. Okay, let me back up. I don't hate it or anything like that.
let me just say, I'm making this because I'm Betty Crocker over here. I'm making a dish for our Thanksgiving.
Sure.
And I love stuffing. Stuffing is that's my go-to. Like I love stuffing. That's my favorite thing about Thanksgiving. And it's got brown gravy on. Like it's like recipe I found where you put brown gravy on top of it and then bake it. I'm like so psyched about this.
That sounds
so
good.
Psyched. So yeah, I'm gonna report back on how that turns out. I'll be cooking that. White Shoddy likes white gravy as well. KFC gravy. Totally, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean that gravy is worth going to KFC. So
yep.
I love it.
I agree.
I love it. But yeah, enter promo code GRAVY and you'll get the 50% off your first month of any premium subscription at racingdudes.com. Just go to racingdudes.com and look for that Get Racing News Premium button at the menu to learn more about those packages. All right. Let's kick things off here, Halterman. Let's go to Aqueduct on Saturday. That's right. We're going Saturday racing. Race 9, the Comley Stakes, Grade 3. We're 200K going a mile and 1/8 for fillies, 3-year-olds. 8 horses have lined up for this one. Interesting race here. Chad Brown and Raging Sea at 5-2. You got 3-1 on Defining Purpose for McPeak. Just Catherine at 9-2 on Julius Shining. I mean, really, there's your options kind of across the board here of who you want to take. What do you like?
Yeah, I since McPeak isn't the favorite, I'm going to go number 7, Defining Purpose on top here. I think this horse has been pretty good, in these tougher races. In the Grade 1 Alabama, got 3rd. The Cotillion wasn't great, got 5th. Came back to the Mother Goose, ran 2nd behind Zagira, who I think is a total single, by the way, in her race tomorrow. So. But you look at okay, when Defining Purpose ran into the Indiana Oaks, it was a nice win. I think the Comley's similar to that, if not a little weaker. So I think Defining Purpose is my pick here. I think it's between the 7 and the 8. I'm going to go the 7.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to try to, in my opinion, try to beat some of these horses, especially Defining Purpose. I mean, McPeak, obviously, at a short price, that's enough for me. But I'm going a little price hunting here. I'm trying to pull an upset. Give me the 6 Warriors Ransom at 12-1. Jamie Ness trained this horse the last couple. It just feels like there's been a horse that's been running at Parks, and it is, by the way, entered in a race at Laurel on the 25th. And so we'll see. Obviously, this horse could definitely be a scratch. Have not heard one way or another, but this is a horse that the last 2 starts has really kind of figured some things out. It looks like. It has really increased the buyer the last 2 as well. I think the distance to me is the only kind of question mark how far this horse is going to want to go. Has won at a mile 16th. So it gives you, it didn't look like a horse that was getting tired late, but has the style kind of to come running late to kind of pick up the pieces. So in a race that I just don't, like I said, I'm not going to play Defining Purpose. Like, to be honest, like Regency and Defining Purpose on their best days, yeah, they're going to beat the 6, right? But I just don't know what these horses really are. I'm not going to play these horses at short prices. So I'm going to try to take an upset here with the 6 Warriors Ransom. Jamie Ness, that's your boy Jamie Ness, right?
Well, I mean, if you can take Ness at 12-1 and make worse decisions, that's for sure. Look, I I think in a race like this, Raging Sea, Defining Purpose, Julia Shining. I mean, it's kind of disappointment that they're here, So I get it. I don't think that's the worst pick.
Well, it's one of those things too. It's like in my opinion, you're either like playing, just playing Regency and Defining Purpose or whatever, and moving on, or you're just trying to beat them with something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And not that crazy, but you're just trying to upset them because it definitely those aren't lock singles by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. So,
Nope.
all right, let's go to. Well, let's go to. We're going to go to the Goldenrod at Churchill Downs, but before this, let's go to race 9 real quick, just to mention it real quick. Race 9 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. It's the Ed Brown Stakes, Halterman.
Yep.
You know about the Ed Brown Stakes, the iconic Ed Brown Stakes, 225K, 6.5 furlongs for 2-year-olds. And I wanted to mention this race because this is a horse that I imagine is going to be drafted here next month on the Dudes Fantasy Draft. That's number 9, Booth for Asmussen Santana, 7-5 morning line. Go watch this horse if you haven't. The debut for the 9 Booth, really, really impressive effort. Should just roll here, but I wanted to at least mention because I think people need to know about this horse.
Yeah, very good horse. Booth won on debut, beat a horse named Nash. Nash came back to absolutely dominate the next time out, and will probably be a top 3 or 4 pick in our draft, like you mentioned. Booth will be drafted as well. The big difference is Nash has a distance pedigree. Booth really doesn't have the classic distance pedigree.
Yeah.
Horses by Matoli out of a Bellamy Road mare. Look, I think, maybe a mile's in the realm, 1.16 miles. I don't know about 1.25 miles, but it doesn't matter. I think Booth is a single on this Churchill Downs card. He looked fantastic. I would think 2 sprints to a route. They ran the sprint maiden at Keeneland. He'll run another sprint here. I don't know, maybe a race like the LeCompte might be next for Booth. So keep an eye on the 9 and the 9th Saturday at Churchill.
And not that we don't know about this horse, but the 7 Just Still for D. Wayne. Look for this horse to run about 14 more times before the Derby next year.
Yeah, I mean, look, a horse that this is just what he does sometimes. The horse really ran one good race, and it was the race where I was all in on the horse that he beat by a nose, right? I mean, he ran 2 very average races. Right. He ran fantastic and beat BU by a nose, and then he's ran 3 terrible races since. So just my luck on that one.
But yeah, I'm with you on 9 on Booth. It definitely feels like the horse, Matoli, Bellamy Road mare, like maybe not going to be an Oaks type horse, but we are only going 6.5 furlongs in this one, and I don't necessarily think that's going to be an issue here. So
yeah.
By the way, Nash, like you're really high on Nash, right?
I think Nash, other than fierceness, I'd have Nash over anybody else pretty much. I think Nash is going to be a superstar. He looked tremendous to me. But they're very young and they're very lightly raced. So, tomorrow he could be hurt and out the whole freaking time. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm high on him. But yeah, I mean, and as far as Booth goes, I'm really, really high on him. It's just I really don't know. I know John White thinks Booth might be able to stretch out better than some other people think, and you never know until they try it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see the horse. I not that it's comparable because Corona Bolt, I feel like I was more interested in going longer, and of course, I don't even know where Corona Bolt is now. But he obviously turned into be a sprinter, and that's a scary part of this time of the year. They can look really good, going 6.5, 7, even a mile, but then it's like you start to realize and start to figure out what these horses want to do, and maybe they aren't going to go, be on that Derby trail or whatever. They might try it once. I would, Booth certainly what you would imagine is going to, like you said, is probably going to end up in a Derby prep, but also wouldn't be surprising to see that be the last Derby prep that we see the horse in.
And I've kind of said it last thing on this because I know we got other races to talk about. That I've kind of been on record saying this a lot. When a horse wins like Booth did, but he didn't do it on the front end, he or she didn't do it on the front end. They kind of like Nisos did last weekend. You're patient, you're sitting kind of mid pack. The jock tells you to go, and then you accelerate and go get them. I just kind of feel like those type of horses usually long-term stretch out a little bit better than, a sprinter that flies to the front and kind of runs them off their feet. I just feel like a lot of times that doesn't work, especially when they have sprint like pedigrees. But again, you're in the hands of Asmussen. I guarantee he's going to give him a big shot.
All right, let's go to a couple official Oaks and Derby prep races. Let's go to the race right after. This is a nice sequence here. Race 10, the Golden Rod Stakes, grade 2, worth $400K, going to mile 16th. For fillies, 2-year-olds, and again, it is an Oaks prep race, 10-5 now. They're rewarding you one more point for the second place, 10-5, 3-2-1 for your top 5 finishers. And hey, no Bafferts in the race, so they're all going to get points. Dude, I don't know. I mean, this one I didn't love as much as I like the next one. 8-5 on Torpedo Anna, 2-1 on West Sunset. West Sunset obviously looks like the horse that might be the most interesting. Central Avenue at 5-1, Intricate at 6-1, Jin at 8-1. I mean, it really is. There's another one of those races. Wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these won.
Yeah, this 8 horse for McPeak looks like kind of a monster, but it's going to be McPeak at a short price. No, thank you. I'll take the 7 West Sunset on top for Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt. I think West Sunset's going to get out to the front. I think she is faster than everybody else. I think it's as simple as 7's out in front with a little bit of a lead going into the stretch. Here comes the 8. Who outruns who from there? I'll have my money on Brad Cox's horse here. I think West Sunset's pretty good. Both these horses are 2 for 2. And to kind of, piggyback on what you said, I like the 7. I like the 8. There's not much else in here I really like.
So again, one of those cases, I do think that, the 8 certainly, it's McPeak, it's Churchill. This horse has not even gotten, Torpedo Anna hasn't even sniffed losing yet. I mean, it's not even been close. This horse has won by 8.5 and 9 in the 2 starts. West Sunset has won by 6 in the last one as well. Kind of figure things out. That one, it looked like, that was at a mile 16, so you kind of have that, whereas the Torpedo Anna hasn't gone that far, although you would think the horse could get it. I wouldn't, once again, trying to beat 2 horses that maybe doesn't make sense to try to beat, but how about the number 5, Central Avenue? Is a horse that, won on debut, beat a comeback winner in Perfectly Wicked, then went and finished second in the Frizette to who? Just FYI, who, by the way, won the Breeders' Cup and looked damn good doing it, I might add. And so to me, and this is a horse that wasn't like the horse really disappointed herself. She kind of got a late start and, came flying late, but of course, just so FYI was better. But I do think this is a horse that going longer will help. Street Sense out of an AP Indy mare. Got to think going longer, the better. Has that late kick. And if this thing kind of falls apart or, some of these horses don't want to quite go to mile 16th, I think Central Avenue will be there.
I think that's a good pick. That's a good third option. And again, you got the just FYI thing, sitting right there staring you in the face. Look, I am a little bit concerned that, because Street Sense out of an AP Indy mare, did the slop kind of move this horse up? Because the first race wasn't amazing, but could just got a lot better in that second race and might get better again. So I don't have any qualms about it. I think that's it's good to kind of take a shot with her.
It's a tough one, though. I will admit it's a tough one because it's kind of hard to imagine. Like, I'll be using Central Avenue on everything, but it's also hard to imagine that, like, I could totally see one of those, the 7 or the 8, not firing, right? But it's hard to kind of imagine that at the way they've won their races, that both of them just don't show up,
Yep.
And so that's the tough part. You're not just trying to beat West Sunset, or you're not just trying to beat Torpedo Anna. You're trying to beat both of them.
Yep.
And so I get it. That's a tough ask, but I like the price on the 5 Central Avenue. So give me her on top here. All right, let's go to the one I'm probably most excited about. That's race 11, the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes, grade 2. Worth $400K as well. Going to mile 16 for 2-year-old the boys. And you've got Kentucky Derby points on the line. 10-5, 3-2-1 for your top 5 finishers. And look, risk it at 5-2, 3-1 on Stretch Ride, 7-2 on Awesome Road for Brad Cox. And this is a horse that I'm the most interested in. And I can't help but go back to our conversation with John that we had after the Breeders' Cup when we talked about fierceness and what was that, and and what you I think that was one of the things that clicked for you the most as well, that where it's like you can't just jump off a horse. It's just these 2-year-olds anyways after one bad start, and we saw that with fierceness. We saw when he bounced back. So my question to you would be Awesome Road, a horse that you and I both you liked on top. I liked in second, but it certainly did not run worth a damn last out. Do you believe that he can kind of bounce back similar to what fierceness did in the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, if you go after this show's over, you can go watch my preview of this on the YouTube site there for the video. And I said exactly what you said. I referenced talking to John White and Matt Denny's. I referenced, hey, I jumped off fierceness and it cost me, so I'm not going to jump off Awesome Road. I heard nothing but good things about him, but not even that. I mean, you watch the first race, look like a star. You watch the second race, it's like he just quit for really no reason. I don't know what happened to him that day, but yeah, I'm going to ride Awesome Road again here. I've learned my lesson. I'm going to keep him going, and I'll say the same thing I said in the video. This will be the time where the horse just sucks, and it wasn't just some kind of fluke. He's just no good, I'm sure. But I've learned my lesson. I'm going to go Awesome Road. I'm not jumping off of him. Flavian Pratt isn't jumping off of him either, and I think it's a really good sign. And I know you're probably sitting there going, well, Pratt's there. Like, well, of course he's going to ride him. I know, but still, it gives you that confidence. So give me Awesome Road. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you got to assume that they don't even know what happened there, you know, like with Awesome Road. And it's just like, because that's one of the, if he got, if he would have ran third or fourth, beaten 4 or whatever, you're just like, and he, you're like, oh, he maybe just isn't good enough. But I mean, he absolutely never ran a step in that race.
They gave him a little time. Again, I'm not a big workout guy, but he seems to be working really steadily coming into it. So we'll see.
And this is a horse that could not have looked better on debut. And that's kind of the head scratcher. And, again, as a horse, he was forwardly placed on his debut, and it's not like he ran forwardly placed here and then kind of faded. Like, he just simply was not involved in the race ever in the Breeders' Futurity. So it's just like, I'm with you. Number one, Awesome Road. That's my play here as well. Especially, I don't think he's going to go off the favorite, certainly with Risk It in the race, but you're going to get playable price, in my opinion, with him, and that makes it even more enticing.
Yeah, and Risk It, obviously big Steve Asmussen fan here for sure. Not as big as Papa Do, but still a big fan. And I haven't been like over the moon in either one of his starts. I thought his first start at Saratoga, people were excited, and it was good. It wasn't crazy good, but it's like, okay, we're going to move forward. I don't know, Jared. I thought he was okay in the Iroquois, but again, I feel like he's almost going to be a little bit of a measuring stick in here in a way. If he wins, I think what's behind him is just average, right? I don't think Risk It is going to be a star. Now watch, he'll win by 8 now, but I said that, but I do think he's solid, but I think he's beatable.
I just don't like the fact of that race that he went off of as a heavy favorite and never had any excuse whatsoever. Was involved in the race. Like, he just simply didn't. He got out kicked. He just wasn't. It wasn't like he didn't fire. It wasn't like he, was injured or he whatever. Like, got pulled up. Like, he just simply got outran on that day. And on top of that, and I know you're not a huge numbers guy, but the numbers didn't go anywhere from the maiden win. It was just kind of like he ran very similar numbers. And so to me, it's just, there's enough there. Like you said, like, he certainly could change, he could, same reason we think Awesome Road could bounce back. I mean, he certainly could. He just hasn't ran a race yet that I think I've been impressed with. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I can't sit there and say, boy, he was bad in the Iroquois. It's just like, where was his excuse? Like, he was 4 lengths behind, a really hot pace. He was in a pretty good spot, and they brought him out for the stretch run, and he did okay. But like I said, he just got out kicked. So I don't know, man. Like, I think he's a good horse, and if he wins, I'm certainly not gonna be surprised. I don't think he's like a star.
Rob likes the 3 Real Men Violin at 5-1. That's a McPeak special right there, because that horse will float up.
Well, and once again, man, it's like, I don't know if have you watched that video I've done?
No.
Okay, you're saying all the same stuff. I said it. I said that exact thing. I said this is totally a Kenny McPeak special. We're on the turf, we're on the dirt, we're going a mile. You just never freaking know where he puts him. But finally, last time out, he looked pretty good, and I think this is one where it's like people are going to look at that form and be like, what is going on with this horse? He's everywhere. End of the day, he's probably going to float up from 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, I think it's a really good play. And like Jared said, and I've said on the video, this is the type of horse he wins with.
Yeah, I mean, he's ran at Churchill twice. He's ran first and second in those races. The second was a mile 16th, but, ran a nice second, and then that last time out, really improved, it looked like. And that was in a mile, but still, like, you would assume out of a Mendelssohn or sired by Mendelssohn, out of a Tapit mare, distance is this horse's friend, you would think. And it's just one of those weird horses that, I mean, I don't even, I think I do this every year. Every year I say, I remember I hit that one in this race. I forget every year who it was, but it was a very similar horse. So where in a sense, like, had been on turf and then wasn't on turf. And you're just like, what the hell is he doing? This would not shock me the least bit, especially even if you want to play like I think if you're not quite sold on it, maybe you could play him underneath. I mean, just enough to where this horse could juice up some stuff if you want to try to beat Asmussen and Brad Cox.
Yep, totally agree. And look at it: Ellis, Saratoga, Churchill, Keeneland, 4 starts, 4 different tracks, different surfaces. I mean, this is the classic McPeak type of runner. And again, you're not getting 8-5 on him, so you feel good. It's like, hell, if I get it 6-1, 8-1, you want to take a shot? I'm not going to argue with you.
And then it's like after all the different surfaces and different distances and different tracks, it's like as soon as if he wins, he'll say, "Well, we've always liked this horse a lot."
This was the plan. Yeah,
this was the plan. Finally, everything kind of came to the perfect point here for us, and yeah. So, all right, let's move on to our last race here. Let's go to Del Mar on Saturday. This is race 7, the Seabiscuit Handicap.
Yeah, that too.
That might be perfect, really. Grade 2, we're 200K going to mile 16th on the turf. I mean, it might be a crap race, but it's like kind of those typical horses that you see on the turf out at Del Mar and Santa Anita. Hong Kong Harry to me is back at his home track at Del Mar. He loves Del Mar, but they're Cabo Spirit and Sumter and Easter and Astronomer looks pretty good front run the Fed. I mean, you take your pick, dude. Who are you going with?
Look, I have a hard time going against Hong Kong Harry ever when he's out here at at Santa Anita or Del Mar, and he even went to Churchill and ran a pretty good second behind up to the mark. Look, he won last time out the City of Hope. I think this at Santa Anita. I think this is a similar race. His last 2 starts at Del Mar were both victories, including a win right here at this track, or excuse me, in this race, I should have said last season. So Hong Kong Harry, for me, the 4 horse, I do kind of echo what you said. It's not going to be easy. There's some decent ones in here. The number 2 Easter, also good. Astronomer. But anyway, I'm going to go number 4 Hong Kong Harry on top. Super consistent. I think he's a little better than the rest of these.
Yep, that's where I went here as well. Hong Kong Harry, this is a horse that just really likes Del Mar. 3 starts at Del Mar, 2 wins and a second. Likes the distance. I thought again that you mentioned it, but getting that second place finish to up to the mark, obviously, who needs no explanation there. Like that was a huge run, especially to go out to Churchill to do that, and so. Came back and maybe needed that last one after that race, at that tough race at Churchill, but then took the break, came back and looked good. I expect him to run really well here. I mean, he's probably gonna be a short price, right? I mean, he usually is, but I think he's a logical horse here. So I'm with you, number 4, Hong Kong Harry. That's it.
Like it.
It's good. Good to be back. The question is, are you a Thanksgiving? Like, how do you handle Thanksgiving? Because, most people every year at Thanksgiving, people are like, they don't realize that, like, of course we're watching football. Everyone's watching football, but it's like you got racing going on too. How do you balance the two?
Yeah, you go with
Plus eating, plus all the family shit you got to deal with, right?
Yeah, I mean, you go football on TV, and then you've got your phone or your iPad or your laptop for the racing. I mean, that's the only way to do it, I think, because family's all over here, and they're going to want to watch football, and so you just put that on for them, and then kind of just what I usually end up doing is kind of go in the corner and do my own thing.
Yeah, they don't need, Are you doing it at your house, or where are you doing it?
Yep. Coming to my house, or our house, I should say. Yeah. So I was laughing. You said you're bringing out the Christmas trees up, so it's gonna be a big deal tomorrow, and I think everybody's coming at 1. So we'll see.
Boy.
We'll see how it goes.
Yep. You guys, who like made that decision? Was it you or Heather that got the Christmas tree out?
That was a Heather decision. She decided, hey, well, this is the second year in a row we're doing it at our house. And she said last year, it's like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to have it up. And so this year she's like, yeah, we might as well do that again. That was nice last year. So yeah, got the last piece of it done just now, actually, right before we went on the air. So it's all good.
It feels like each year it gets earlier and earlier for us.
Yes.
For me, it's like, well, shit, I guess I got to get the tree out, because as soon as Halloween's over, it's like, now we're on to Christmas, and then Thanksgiving's like sandwiched in there, but no one talks about. So,
Yep.
But especially when you have kids, that's all they care about.
I would say, yeah, you in your situation, that's, yeah.
It's the faster we can get the Christmas trees out, the better.
Right.
And decorated and then the Christmas lists and, so we have I don't know, I'll speak to, you don't, thankfully it's avoided us when we were kids, but now they do the elf on the shelf, and we've done that. And Chief is his name. He's a chief guy, but he's an elf. And he makes his return December 1st. That's when ours comes back until Christmas. But Cohen's got a list or a countdown for Christmas, and he's got a countdown for Chief's return. So it's a big deal.
Well, that's I don't know. I guess because we didn't have it when we were kids, I've never really understood it, but the kids do tend to love that. So yeah, I probably would too.
And honestly, from a dad's perspective, it is kind of fun because it's like you get to come up with the different, especially I'm kind of excited about this year because we have a new house and the new locations, that I hope Chief finds, in case Cohen's listening. But it's always fun to see where Chief might end up and the funny thing, and the boys get a big kick out of it. And the one thing though, I don't know how other, I know how most families are. It's like, so like my niece, they can't touch theirs. Like that's the whole deal. If you touch them, it's like his magic powers go away. Well, ours, of course, having two boys in a boy house, that's never been possible. We throw them around and and so it's always like trying to explain to my niece, like, okay, no, ours has like a magic barrier around him. You can touch him, but yours doesn't. And so it's like it's a whole deal. Like you gotta get you as a parent. Sometimes you realize like you go down this whole rabbit hole of like you're making up shit over and over about what this guy can do and what he can't do. And next thing you know, your kids remember and you're like, oh shit, I forgot. Like I can't touch him, or I can touch him, or whatever. And it's just gotta write a book about it.
Oh man. Well, like I said, countdown is on.
Shoddy, it's on my Instagram, I think. I have pictures, obviously. I always try to take pictures of them just to remember. But man, I've done some fun ones. I've had let's see, one year Spider-Man was holding the rope and then Chief was going down the rope, and it was like a zip line going down it was, fun stuff like that. Sometimes it's as simple as like putting them on, like I have like a horse statue and like just he's riding the horse or whatever, just depends what kind of mood Chief's in that night. So, but for my kids, a big thing is to have them playing. They like to see Chief playing with like, I try to stage like an environment where it's like they wake up to him caught in the act, and so now it's like all the guys are. It's if you really stop and think about it, it's kind of freaky because you're like, oh, so apparently we have Toy Story happening at our house where all the toys were alive playing with Chief. But yeah, it's my thought is one day it's not gonna, it'll be lame. So at least have fun with it while they're young.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got a few more years of it.
Yeah. And dude, by the way, there's always it happens at least once a year where you go to bed or whatever and you forget, right? You forget to move, and then they wake up and they're like, "Why? What happened? What? You have to come." They're one of those situations where you have a whole like story behind it. Well, here's probably what happened. So you got tired, or it's a whole deal. So be thankful that you only have a cat and a dog to please.
Okay, I am thankful. Yep.
That's what you're thankful for.
Yes, very yeah, when we go around and do that, we don't do that. But if we did, that's what I would say.
You're thankful that I don't have kids.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racedudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Race Dudes Premium button at the menu at racedudes.com to learn more. Remember to go check out Gravy. Put Gravy promo code in to get 50% off your first month of any monthly premium subscription. So make sure you go get your hands on that at racingdudes.com. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all the places you listen to. We are there. The Magic Mike Show is as well. And they have it out there right now. It's the Pick Six. That's right. They went Pick Six at Del Mar tomorrow for Thursday's racing. So make sure you go check out that tonight or tomorrow morning. So you can kind of get if you're looking to make some money or at least to have some action while grandma's snoozing on the couch and, you're full and you're watching whoever, some shit. I'm sure, are the Cowboys playing? Yeah, they always play. Yep. Cowboys, playing tomorrow, whatever. You got some action at Del Mar. So make sure you go check out the Magic Mike Show for that. Oh boy. Any final thoughts before we make this a wrap to Thanksgiving?
Yeah, Moisan wants to know who I think the AEW Devil is.
Well, that sounds interesting.
So I'll answer that. I think it's Adam Cole, Moist. I really do. I don't really know how they're going to do it since his ankle is wrecked, but I would say Adam Cole would be my guess on that one. So we'll see.
He also wants to know thoughts on Hangman Page drinking blood. That's a sentence I never thought I'd read.
I think CM Punk said it best about Hangman Page. He's an empty-headed, dumb F. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay. So he drank blood, huh?
Yeah. Honestly, AEW's to the point where it's like, we kind of watch it for the comedy anymore. It's like, it's getting bad. So I don't know. I hated that match. I hated most of the matches on that pay-per-view, honestly. So
let's do a quick here. Let's do the games tomorrow real quick. The Packers at Lions. That's the first. So those are the matchups. Lions, Packers, or Packers at Lions, Commanders at Cowboys, and the 49ers at Seahawks tomorrow. And then Friday, I think this is the first time they've done this. The Black Friday, you got Dolphins at the Jets. That'll be a doozy of a one. So Packers at Lions. What you got?
I guess the Lions. Packers aren't very good. Lions, I think, are decent. I don't think they're 8-2 good. I think their record's a little bit better than who they are, but I think they get it done pretty easily.
Let's even go further. It's 7.5 for the line.
I mean, it's a lot of points for the Lions. I would think I want the Lions in that situation, though.
Yeah. Give me the Packers plus 7.5. I don't love it. The Packers will suck tomorrow, I'm sure, but Detroit. I just think it could be kind of a low scoring. Detroit's not very good on Thanksgiving typically. So give me plus 7.5 for the Green Bay. Washington at Dallas plus 13. Wow, you got to get to 13 points on Dallas. So are you really going to take 13 points and have Dallas win?
No, I mean, surely there's other things you can bet on. I mean,
Don't bet this game.
I don't want to bet the Redskins really. Plus 13 is probably the best play there, but I don't really want to bet the Redskins, and I certainly don't want to bet Dallas either. But I think plus 13 is where I would go with Washington if you made me take a side there. They're at times they play pretty well, minus last week for sure. But I think they'll play a little bit better. I don't think they're going to win. They might keep it a little closer than 13.
Yeah, give me Dallas minus 13, though. I don't love that, taking 13 points ever or giving 13 points ever. But Washington kind of sucks. And so Dallas defense should feast. So give me Dallas there. Yeah, and by the way, Rob says no Aaron Jones. I'm aware. I will never draft Aaron Jones ever again in fantasy. I had literally one game out of him, and it was the first game, and basically held out hope all year. So that doesn't really change with him being out because he's been out pretty much all year. Let's go to San Francisco at Seattle, -7 on the 49ers. What do you think of that one? That's an interesting line, I think.
Yeah, a little bit better game here. I think I'll take the underdog at home. I'm going to go Seattle plus the 7.
That's it. Yeah. Give me the 49ers -7. I just think they're better. But that'll be a good game. That's the game of the day for sure, to see those two match up, because two good teams with winning records in the NFC. So interesting. Yeah, that's tomorrow's a good NFC day, right? Because you've got Detroit, what they're about, Dallas, what they're about, and then obviously San Francisco and Seattle, to see kind of how those shape up. So, and then we'll move on to Saturday or Friday, I guess. Miami at the Jets. Dude, it's so funny. By the way, 9.5 is the line, but it's so funny that you have all these Jets games that are nationally televised because of the thought of Aaron Rodgers, right? And so you get all these nationally televised Jets games, and they're just awful.
I mean, it's like watching paint dry, really. Miami's, they're not a great team, but they are probably in that good category. They'll probably struggle to move the ball a little bit, but if they're ready to play, they'll shut down the Jets. I mean, I think it'll be like a 20-10 type of game. It's probably right at the number.
Yeah.
I would take Miami.
The backup, they finally had enough, and they put a backup in, which, by the way, is, I mean, I agree, he's not been great, but I mean, now you still have Nathaniel Hackett calling plays.
I think more than anything, I don't know. You're going to have a wizard to call plays to make that work. I mean, you watch the Jets play, and it's like, man, if they had Aaron Rodgers, they would probably be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is one of the top 5 defenses in the league. They've got a pretty nice running back in Breece Hall, and it's just like they can't get anything out of the quarterback. And
elite, and I'll say this, and he's an elite wide receiver in Garrett Wilson.
He's
elite, and
can't get anything out of him,
dude. Last week, and I don't have top but obviously he's on my fantasy team, so I watch him like a hawk. And you watch any game with him, and you're like, you can tell he's elite. But he gets 8 targets last week. He had -1 point last week because he had a fumble. But that just shows you he's getting 8 targets and getting 20 yards, 40. They just it's crazy. You would think volume, but even Zach Wilson can't get it to him.
Do you think the Jets? Maurice Sam says Jets 9-2 with Rodgers. I don't know. Well, I guarantee you they're a 7 or 8 win team for sure.
They've won 4 games without him. So, I got to think at least I'd have to look at their schedule to remember but that's the other thing too. I mean, every game they've, of course how did they beat Philly? I don't know, but they are in a lot of games because of that defense.
They're in every game.
Yeah. And
they rarely lose a game, and it's like, oh, they never had a chance. They're in every game, and they are so bad offensively. And like I said, it's a lot of times we make too much of, get this one player and everything changes. But in this situation, that is 100% the case. They're
Yeah.
one player short. We just said it. They've got a nice back. They've got a nice receiver. They've got some other pieces that aren't awful. They're one player short. And it's a shame they went out and got that player, and it still didn't work out,
I mean, they literally built the team around that one player.
Yep.
And so when he went out, it was like, like Nathaniel Hackett wouldn't have a job if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there.
Yep.
He came because Aaron Rodgers, and so they were, so it's like, and like Lazard, and they just have a lot of the guys like all worked around having him, and then when he went out, you're like, oh shit.
Yep.
Now we got to figure out what we are, and they aren't very good without him. That's what they are.
I mean, and again, it's like I said, that they might lose 10-9 to the Dolphins. I mean, that's possible,
Yep. Yeah. So hey, Paul, what's up, man?
Hey, Paul.
Happy Thanksgiving, Freya. Happy Thanksgiving. So she probably is counting down the days as well to Christmas.
I would say, yeah, she probably doesn't care about Thanksgiving.
No, my opportunity here to obviously the Chiefs coming off a loss on Monday to the Eagles. The Chiefs, I think this year is going to be the quintessential lose in the first round of the playoffs, and we're all just kind of scratching our heads like, boy, that year was wasted. We had an elite defense. We had Patrick Mahomes, and they frankly just kind of suck, really. I mean, their offense hasn't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks, in the last 3 games, I should say, in the second half.
Mhm.
They literally no, I'm sorry. They haven't scored a point, not a touchdown, not 1 point in the second half of the last 3 weeks or last 3 games. And, their offense is just such a fine line, right? Everything has to go perfect can you imagine, like we were talking the other night, me and my dad, because we were watching the game together, and it's like, can you remember a time, well, the Mahomes era anyways, where it's like, when you're excited that the defense is on that we're out on the field.
Yeah.
Because when the offense is, you're just like holding your breath. And that's how it feels every time we have the ball right now. You're like, oh, come on, just don't fumble it. Don't throw an interception. Don't, whatever. Like, can we move down the field? It's just, they're not a very good offense. And on top of that, they have a lot of penalties. They have a lot of turnovers. Mahomes had a terrible interception in the red zone. And I don't think he's been great. I mean, he's not been Mahomes-esque, but when he is, we still can't catch the ball. We still can't, we don't have that thing, right? That oomph that you need to get the job done in these big games. Like, I think they're an elite team if they can but it's just late in the game, man. It's late in the season to have these offense issues.
I don't think there's an elite team in the league, and I think that helps them. Look, you can name off all these problems, and there are problems. Literally, if they could catch the ball, they would be 9-1.
Yeah. Yep.
Literally, if they could catch it, they would be 9-1.
Lead the league in drops.
Yep. The Denver game was, wow, so bad it's unbelievable. But the loss to the Lions, if they could have caught a pass, they win. If they could catch the ball against the Philadelphia, they win, and they'd be 9-1. We're talking about just catch, like a wide receiver in the NFL catching it, not getting open, not having to block somebody, not having to run a reverse 80 yards per touchdown like Tyreek could do. We're talking about just catch it, and they can't do it. So it's pretty fixable. Just catch the ball, but I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know. To me, they're right there because this league is garbage, and they're right there with a big chance because I'm sorry, there's nobody any good. Like, the first quarter of that game, I'm like, okay, finally, we're going to see a good game. The last 3 quarters of that game was garbage. It's not good football. And I don't care that it's a low scoring game. That doesn't bother me. It's not good football. Penalties, turnovers, mistakes. It's bad.
I know, and it's like, and you watch the Eagles, you're like, how are they How are they a freak Jets performance from being undefeated?
We talked about that today on our show on Pop Dude and I, and we're like, we kind of like to watch the Eagles, but it's like they're not that good. Like you
No.
watch that game at Arrowhead, and I read an article, and it's like, yeah, we're not satisfied with this win. Well, you shouldn't be, because a good team would have beat the shit out of the Chiefs.
Listen, here's the best way to even forget the drop, which is, I get it, but the two biggest stars, really the three biggest stars, but the two biggest stars on the team, Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, if they just have not shitty games, they win going away. That's it. Travis Kelsey doesn't fumble inside the 10. Mahomes simply throws, just throw it out a little bit, and it's a touchdown. Just those, all of a sudden the game's over. But like I say, it's such a fine line. And then when you don't make those plays from those guys, I mean, you gotta have, when you have no wide receivers they can catch, those two guys can't have bad games. And that's the tough part about our offense right now. It's just such a fine line with how they can win a lot of games because of Patrick Mahomes, because of Travis Kelsey, because of that defense, Andy Reid, but they can lose a lot of them too. Those close games against good teams, or quote unquote the best we have to offer, when you can't make plays and you make turnovers. So
for sure.
Yeah, and Rob says it too. Neither QB passed for over 200 yards. Mahomes had 57 yards in the first half or something. It was an ugly game. I get it. It was rainy and the weather was bad. I get that. But still.
Well, if the Chiefs had a normal quarterback, they'd give up 6 sacks a game. And it's not all the offensive line. A lot of it is he's having to sit there and hold the ball because nobody's open.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Mahomes will run 3 circles and jump over a guy and hurdle another guy and do a sidearm pass just to get the pass off.
Yep.
It's crazy how good he is, avoiding those sacks. Yeah, Moist, if you want a full breakdown, my dad and I talked about it on the Dudes Who Bet Sports show, because we've been saying for 4 or 5 weeks, and the commenters on that show have been saying the same things. I hate the NFL is almost unwatchable if you don't have a team. And then Brady came out and said the same thing. Said it's mediocre, and we kind of addressed it and kind of addressed our thoughts on why. And our biggest thing was there's just poor play, and it feels like there's a lack of practice time. And I know under the new CBA they do limit the practice time, and I think it's showing. And then lastly, there's some horrific quarterbacks in this league. I mean, bad. Not just average, horrible quarterbacks. And we were going down the list currently starting in the NFL coming up this week. There were 2 quarterbacks that we thought would be exciting to watch. If you're just watching the product.
Yeah.
Mahomes, CJ Stroud. That's it. Can you think of another one?
No, I mean, really. And it makes sense that, from an exciting standpoint, it makes sense that that's why those 2 are, in the MVP discussion for quarterbacks, that because CJ Stroud has been awesome this year. Yeah, it's showing that we don't have a good, there's quarterbacks starting this week, just this week alone, that I'm like, I've never even heard of you once in my life.
Nope.
I didn't know you existed, and you're a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
And I mean, I watch college. I'm sure you knew who these guys were but still, it's
not all of them.
Yeah, and that tells you, because you're a college guy, and if you don't know these guys, how I mean, it's baffling, really, and it's not, and the quarterbacks that they were replacing weren't good either, and that's the other part. So,
nope.
I don't know. I saw a comment too. I don't have it. I was trying to look for it, Rob, but that's the thing of this defense is just you look at the guys they've faced over the last several weeks, and I can't again, but like the week 1, it was St. Brown, and we've had Hill, we've had obviously AJ Brown. There's like a long list of those wide receiver ones, and they're just shutting them down. Like this defense is elite. Like I've watched every defense the Chiefs have had, and this is a legit kind of defense. They have a good line. They won. By the way, they won the battle in the trenches against the Eagles by far.
Oh, easily. And that's why it's so tough to lose, because they did.
Yeah.
And that's also why I wouldn't panic if I were you, because they're sitting right there. Nobody's any good. Their defense is really, really good. I think their offense will get it figured out enough to win it. I wouldn't panic yet.
I just think it's late in the game to be like, oh yeah, our wide receivers are. And honestly, when I was listening to the press, all the press stuff after, and even Andy, you could tell is the way he kind of described it was like, it's kind of like when you put your kid out to play, like when the old turtles are out there, you're just like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I can't get mad at you because you don't know how to do it, and that's kind of where the message it came is more like he said something along the lines of like, well, I mean, the guys are playing their hearts out. It's just this is what they are, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's an effort problem at all. No,
they just don't have and honestly, I think it falls on. I mean, just we don't have anyone, from Beach and those guys. Like we didn't set ourselves up or these guys just underperformed dramatically. They don't know how to catch it. But it's just like you said, like how do you? It's not like we're asking you to make these like juggling catches, these elite catches. I mean, you just got to catch it.
Just catch it, and if they do, they'll win. I mean, so I again, it's like it's not like, hey, they ran for 5 yards on the day like USC, and they gave up 12 sacks and they just were helpless. No, I mean, it's basically like, yeah, the offense is average, but they'd be a little above average if they just catch the ball. So,
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. The good news is the Chiefs' schedule, the remaining schedule is fairly easy. We get the Raiders twice.
Yeah.
It feel like you should win all but let's say one, and they should probably still lock up the 1 seed. But again, like you don't catch the ball, it's going to get you in games that you probably you're going to be in games that you shouldn't be in. It shouldn't be close. I mean, so
yeah, that's kind of how it's been. But they'll be
just
fine.
Like I'm just from a history from my I just have this like vision like of we're gonna get to the playoffs and it's gonna be one of those games that MVS drops a critical catch or whatever, and it's just like and then at the end of the we lose and it's like one of those years that you just feel like we just needed to we're set up to fail this year because of no wide receivers.
1,000% possible, but you got to beat Baltimore, Jacksonville, Miami, Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh. Throw in Buffalo. I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah. No, you're right. And like we'll shut. The Ravens. I like the Ravens. Their defense is good, but we'll shut that shit down on offense.
Look, I think the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC. I think they're much better with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. I think he's doing a really nice job. I think he understands how to use Lamar, and I think Lamar's having a nice season because he's there. I don't have any confidence the Ravens are going to win a big game still. And look, like you already beat Miami, and the Chiefs played like shit and beat them. I mean, like it's like there's just nothing really there to be real scared of. Past Baltimore, like I said, Baltimore's they're not bad, but I'm not a huge believer in them still.
No. I mean, their defense again is good enough to keep them in a lot of games, and I'm with you. I think Lamar looks, he's not, they've got him playing well, and I'm with you. I think it's a lot better, and they're well balanced, but still, like when I look at their offense, I'm like, yeah, they don't have enough firepower to, especially losing Mark Andrews. I mean, that was a huge loss, unfortunately. So. Yeah, I'm with you. But we could talk forever about this, but I gotta go, and you gotta go, and everyone has to go. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We appreciate everyone tuning in for back with Blinkers Off, and hopefully everyone has a great Thanksgiving, great betting weekend, and the dudes will be back next week to what? Golly, we're gonna be. I mean, oh, by the way, I saw a comment from somebody. Do you know when the draft is gonna be before we leave? Have you locked that down yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't locked it down. What we usually do, we'll draw for positions, probably Thursday, December 7th, and then we'll probably do the drafts, Thursday, December 21st, I'd say.
Right.
TBA, but yeah, we usually draw for positions a couple weeks before the actual draft. So we'll see.
All right, so stay tuned for that. And if you're not familiar with that, stay tuned. We do a draft for the 3-year-olds, well, now 2-year-olds, but coming up 3-year-olds, and follow them along all next year as they go down the Derby Trail. So it's a fun way to, if nothing else, I always tell people it's a good way to get an idea of the top 50 horses, because you're getting some of the best minds in racing, all making picks and compiling a top 50, and it's a good way to kind of get your mind in the right place when it comes to these 2-year-olds, soon to be 3-year-olds, as we go down the Derby Trail. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at @racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.